All right. Hello, everybody out there. This is some quality intro music.
Oh, it's fun. It's themed entertainment-y.
It is beautiful music. Hello, folks out there in TV land. A big shout out to Michael Libby. Hey, guys. We have more and more people are joining the show. We'll give them a little bit of time before we dive completely in. But my name is Patrick Kling, and this is...
I'm Andy Garfield.
Wait a second. Did I have your name wrong this entire time?
What do you mean?
Oh, I'm going to have to change that. Did you say Amanda? Amanda Garfield?
Andy Garfield.
I heard.
I'm Andy Garfield.
I'm Andy Garfield. Okay, I thought that was a miscommunication.
Yes, I'm Amanda Garfield.
Welcome to the show. This is our first show ever, folks. Andy and I know each other a long time. We've worked together in the industry we're both in the themed entertainment industry before. And I'm gonna go just so people know how wacky and crazy this really is. I'm gonna share kind of how this show started. So this all started with the tweet.
Like so many things.
Yeah, like so many things. Toying with doing a weekly theme park show every week during the lockdown. This is industry focused. Would you watch and engage? It had 29 likes. So I figured there's some people who might be interested in that. Then let's see, I'm making sure that the window doesn't look too crazy. Yes, sure. Would absolutely tune in. Would love to participate. Andy Garfield right here. Make it cool. Make_it cool. And then next thing you know, we got a show going. Pep talk. I like that. Pep talk for the industry. All that kind of good stuff. And then, of course, sounds great. Sunday evening, we can work out the details. Cold in the first show. Quality content. Streaming on YouTube and Facebook. And today we are here to do that. So how exciting is that?
Watch us hammer out the details live.
Yes. As always, folks, this is a live stream. So if you want to comment, I know we already have comments going on YouTube and on Facebook. So that's great. Andy, what do you take of what's going on out there? How have you been affected? It's been one hell of a week. It's been one hell of a month. Where are you at right now?
Well, this week has been a hell of a year.
Yeah, there you go.
This month has been a hell of a year. Well, for me personally, it's funny. As you can see, I'm here in my studio at Pachinko Media. And, it's funny is that it's almost no change for me. I mean, I get up and I come to the studio and I go home.
Yeah.
It's pretty much been my life for the last 20 years, or sometimes I live at my studio a long time ago. But, yeah, I mean, I really miss, I would generally have a lunch with friends and colleagues almost every day. I really miss that. Otherwise, I worked as pretty much in isolation for my entire career. So it's really not anything new to me. I mean, I miss going out to dinner and going out to lunch and all that kind of stuff like everybody else. But, and in terms of work, I've only had 1 and kind of 1.5 projects canceled.
Oh, that's good.
Canceled.
Yeah, that's not bad.
A couple of others have been pushed, but not far, just because of the sort of the chaos of other clients transitioning to working from home.
Yeah.
There was that week or two where everybody was scrambling to okay, how are we going to make this work? And everything was just kind of put on hold for a while. Talking to other people that are, working from home, they're adjusting well. I think, I was talking to Jason McManus, and he's just like, I work like 16 hours a day now. I don't know what time it is or what day it is. He's just I just sit in my home office and work all day now.
So so there's people watching that maybe don't know who you or I am, who are found us on YouTube or Twitter or what have you. Who are you?
Who am I? Well, I'm Andy Garfield.
What do you do?
I've been doing music and sound for themed entertainment now for this is my 25th year.
Wow.
Doing this, I started at Walt Disney Imagineering when I was 21 in 1995, and I worked in the audio video department, mostly just as a assistant floating assistant, and doing reconnaissance, audio reconnaissance in the library, the media library, which was basically just a closet back then. Now they have this, whole like fancy library facility. But I grew up in Anaheim, close to Disneyland, and spent a lot of time there growing up, and just wanted to get involved in themed entertainment. And I was doing music at the time. I was doing animation at the time when I was a kid in junior high and high school. And then I decided to do music. And then right around the same time, Buddy Baker, who was the head of the music department at Disney for a long time, started a film scoring program at UFC. And I went to him and I said, I want to do music for theme parks. And he was just like, oh, holy crap. All right, so you're in.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I studied with Buddy. Buddy, for those of you who don't know, wrote Grim Grinning Ghosts for the Haunted Mansion, among many other things. People Mover music, the American Journey, the Circle Vision music, and Impressions de France, things like that. Sorry to Etienne if you're watching. I said impressions instead of impressions de France or whatever it's supposed to say. Yeah, and so I've been doing a lot of film and television, video games, all kinds of stuff in between theme park attractions, and now for the last 10 years or so, I've been doing 90% of my work has been in themed entertainment.
Yeah, that's great. So before
my first big job, my first real big break was the Men in Black ride at Universal Studios Florida. That was my first real big by myself job, my first big boy job.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great attraction.
Which celebrates its 20th anniversary in just a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, and Dave Cobb just posted a Twitter, a video out there of him recreating the ride, which was fun.
Yeah,
super fun. So before we talk about who I am, for those that don't know me, we got some comments. This is a live stream. We got to put the comments up. Hey guys, yep, that's Michael Libby. We got Melody. Hey Melody, thanks for watching. Samuel PG, that scared me. I'm not sure what that was referring to. And of course, we got the woos. We got a question for later, but Erica says hello. And then we got the fire. Grim Grinning Ghost is on fire, so that's fun.
Friend Mickey Bowden. Hi, Mickey.
So I'm Patrick Kling. So I've been in theme park design kind of like off and on for 10 years, but mostly for the past, I guess, 7 years I've been doing it, 6 years, 7 years. I work at Nickelodeon Experience Design in Orlando, Florida as an art director, associate art director for their team working on attractions. And I lived down the street from Disneyland, just like Andy. I lived in Costa Mesa and loved theme parks growing up. I loved Disneyland, loved going there. I'm sure we'll talk more about our journeys all together a little later, but worked with the Nickelodeon for a while, then worked at SeaWorld, then worked at iTech, and then now I'm back at Nickelodeon for almost 2 years and do art direction for creative development for Nickelodeon, which is a lot of fun. So in regards to, our impact is we've been on lockdown, working from home for 3 weeks because we just ended our third week of it. So luckily, at least at this moment, we're still working. All my projects are going. We're in various stages of them, and we're still working, at least at the moment. So we're very fortunate about that. But we did have the news come in this week about Disney furloughing, April 19th, most of their employees, and nobody really knows what that means quite yet. But these are the kind of things that kind of happened. Hearing that mass, furloughing made me think, it'd be great to do maybe it'd be a good idea to do some sort of industry show out to talk about things and connect with our peers and colleagues and aspiring colleagues, students, and maybe fans that want to see a little more inside baseball about kind of the day-to-day life. And so here we are. So this is our first show. And Andy and I literally did no discussion whatsoever, except here's the link on how to get on. And our plan is, and maybe it's an ill-fated plan, is to figure out, what our template of what the format of our show is going to be. So, there can be the news, there can be the just the day in the life. There's the how long is the show. We really don't know any of those things at the moment. We're really figuring those out in real time. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the thing that I keep coming back to in my own, thoughts, sitting here, is what is the landscape of themed entertainment, and how are people going to consume themed entertainment after this is over? And the other corollary, will this ever be over? I mean, I don't think, I'm not sure that, we're just going to like flip a switch and life's going to go back to the way it was before. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think, aside from the massive job losses and whatever, I think we're gonna think about and participate in public spaces a lot differently, certainly now, than we had before. What do you think?
I completely agree. So I did a webinar earlier the week, Friday afternoon, and we were talking about people who just recently graduated, and I graduated in 2009, which was a bad time for that. And then we went right around that time working for the Theo Awards together. If I do recall correctly, you were working with that. And my point of the story is that the economy was tanking down back then, and it was very challenging to get jobs, and people had just laid off all their, a lot of their staffing. This thing is completely different because, it's not a market-driven thing. This is a complete exterior outside force, not tied to the price of oil, not tied to things like that, where, all these projects in the Middle East got cut. It was just this total odd pandemic that's causing this. And so I think our industry, all industries are going to be affected. And yeah, what do you do when you're supposed to move all the way forward in your line, or you're supposed to sit, in an entire parade viewing area, and you don't really want to do that, right?
Yeah, I think there's two elements to it. I think it's going to be like, are there going to be people that can afford to have these premium experiences in the numbers that they used to have? And then what is that experience going to be like?
Yeah. Well, another thought that was kind of interesting, which was just, we know that there's projects that are completely on hold right now, based because of what's going on. They don't know which ones are going to happen or not. And this is across all companies. I don't want to get too specific with companies because, we're all under NDAs, or, we have knowledge that we need to be discreet about. Having said that, a question that came up in this webinar, I'm going to bring up this webinar again because it was interesting, was, in SCAD and their class, their thesis class, they have these crazy concepts and these completely forward thinking of the next level of themed entertainment. And after just going through Galaxy's Edge, and we know what Potter, and we know these next level things, it's going to be a while until the next big thing comes out, And so I said, my recommendation to all, I think everybody in the industry, is to start thinking, how do you get that big idea, but in a small space, with completely different thinking around it? Because I think the day, at least for the next couple of years, of these huge, massive projects is on hold indefinitely for now.
What do you think about some of the stuff in Tokyo, in Tokyo Disney, that were like under construction? I mean, their big new Fantasyland expansion and the new land in Tokyo Disney Sea. I mean, I can't recall what phase those are in terms of construction, but I mean, I can't imagine they would just stop everything and then just like, leave it to the elements. Do you?
Well, do you think would they stop things that have not started construction, or are you saying, do you think they keep the construction going? I didn't understand the question.
All right. Do you think they're going to keep construction going? Do you think if things have been, put in the ground, that they're just going to keep going, or everything's just going to stop?
I mean, I think it's going to be mixed, right? I think it's going to be we might need to pump the brakes on things and go down to skeleton crews, or reevaluate if everything makes sense. Yeah. So, I'm not what's very interesting about Tokyo, for example, is it's the Oriental Land Company. So they don't necessarily have the entire weight of the Walt Disney Company to either bring them down or bring them up. It really is their tourist sites mostly. From what I know, I don't think they have too much else going on. They're not that diversified. I think maybe I'm misspeaking about that. But they're gonna have to completely see what the trends in Japan are. Are people gonna want to jump right back in, or are they gonna be slow? It does seem like they have a little bit of experience with this because they did have the disaster with the nuclear power plant, right? So I believe they were shut down during that time. So they have a little bit of history with how they want to handle a disaster. What do you think?
I think I think projects like the Marvel Land at California Adventure will be finished because it was like weeks away from being done, and that'll open I think probably when a few weeks after the parks reopen. Who knows? I don't know, but I can imagine pretty much anything that hadn't started construction is going to be on hold indefinitely. Everywhere, and not just Disney. I mean, Universal. I don't know. I mean, I wonder about Epic Universe. I don't know. They haven't really built anything, so I don't know.
Sorry, I'm putting my hat back on. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. There's a lot of theorizing out there about are things delayed, or especially for that park. I don't know. I have no. It's hard to say. I think it's going to be.
If you were a Comcast executive, what would you do?
I would see. I think everything's is going to go to molasses until we really know what the ramifications, what's going to happen. Like in 2 months, I think we're going to have a clear picture whether we're all back to work or are we still back in this slug and we have another bailout package that's gone out. So I think that it's going to take time for people to really wrap their head around it. So right now I think everyone's just kind of in a pause because they're so worried about, they don't have a crystal ball. It's interesting because, if people snap back to work, because we know that, a lot of the people that have been furloughed so far might've been just stores and restaurants that were just shut down. So those people are going to come back to work we would presume there's going to be a mass influx of people that can start working again pretty immediately. Now, right, there might be people that are not coming back or that they're going to cut down their staffing, but that's still going to be a huge part of the economy that's going to slowly but surely come back online. And it's not like a 2 to 3 year recovery, in my point of view. I think it's going to be an instant good shock to the system when people have to go back to work. People are now funding money. People are planning they're going to go to Disneyland. They're going to go to Disney World. They're going to drive down. They're going to reschedule their trips. But if this is 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, all bets are off.
Yeah. I'm very optimistic if this only goes on for another month or two, I'm very optimistic that people will rush out to have these outside experiences.
Yeah.
I think, you'll see huge lines at Disneyland, huge lines at Disney World and Universal Orlando. I think, people will flood to the parks. And I think that you're going to see pretty much everybody in masks if they aren't required.
Interesting. Well, and I don't know the things that they did around, I don't want to be political on the show too much, but the things that South Korea were doing and even China was doing, where to enter a building, you had to have a temperature check, to have or temperature check, and there's heat sensors just out and they just plug people out. They did that for SARS. I don't know what how legal that is to do in America, but to get serious about things, we might need to be doing things like that. Okay, you get checked for your temperature, you get pulled out, you get whatever the most less intrusive testing is, you get tagged that you have the test, that you got to prove that you're good and you're good to go out in the public. It might be that slow build out. I don't know the Constitution and I don't know how legal all those things are. But if the government's going to wiretap you after 9/11, this is on that same scale. So what are we really going to do to be serious about it? And it seems like we're just now starting to get serious with the shelter in place, but not all states are doing it. And if not all states are doing it, then all you need is one person traveling from New York to here to Orlando. and to just spread it around. So it's
yeah, I can imagine, like another step in TSA and another step at the park securities, of a temperature check, whether it's a, an IR field, spectrometer check, where they're just like watching people walk by, or if they're like holding the temperature gun up to you, individually or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I think all bets are off in terms of, airport security and park security,
yeah.
Well, when you go on a cruise, they're like, look, if you go on the cruise, if you are sick, or if you've been sick, or if you've had diarrhea in the last 10 days or anything like that, they make you sign a legally binding document that, an affidavit that you are not sick and you haven't been sick. And if you are, then you can't go.
Right. Well, and I think what's going to have to happen is it's going to have to be everywhere. So meaning it can't just be Disney and Universal doing it first because they're going to get horrible press for it. But if it's just this mandated thing by the government saying, hey, we're rolling this out everywhere, that'll provide them cover. And I think that like the biggest failing or issue, I didn't want to get political, but this is just the realities we live in, which is we were relying on corporations to just do the right thing for most of these things. So nobody told Disney World they had to shut down. They shut down out of the goodness of their heart or because they saw the tea leaves and they did it. No one was telling Viacom, CBS to make sure all their employees were sent home and working from home. Same with Disney. When they did that, they all just did that. And they were way ahead of the government rules, which is pretty crazy that's what we were relying on. And we're going to need the government to step in to help public places.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Joe's comment.
Yeah, Gantum torch technology. You love it, folks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a heady concept. It's a heady issue. I mean, I've spent a lot of time thinking about what is it going to look like when we all come out on the other side of this. And I think it's, I think 9/11 is the closest thing we can look to see how things are going to change in our daily lives.
Yeah.
After this, I think it's to say it's unprecedented, is hyperbole, but yeah, I think about like what is the guest experience going to be like? Is the guest experience going to change fundamentally in theme parks? I mean, with social distancing, how long will people social distance for?
I think that this is I don't pretend to be a scientist or a medical scientist on TV.
I do.
Yeah. I think that it's going to be a slow ramp up. So I think that they could limit how many people go into different areas. But I would say once there's a vaccine, and we know there's most likely going to be a vaccine within the year, I think people will go back to that lifestyle. Now, having said that, people might be more cautious. So if you have any sort of symptoms and you have to go out in public, people might wear masks. Or if they're elderly, they might, just like the rest of, Asia does that as a courtesy, right? If you have any symptoms, they'll go out and they'll wear a mask. So that might be where our culturally we shift. It's for that to happen. I think that things will bounce back and the park experience will go back. I don't know. I think that there's too many things in our daily lives that we just are so used to that everything would need to change. And I don't know. I think that it's hard to see if like we're really going to completely to change the way we design things, because I just think could negatively affect the experience, at least the immersion experience. Everybody wants to go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, what do you think about the idea I've seen floating around of doing away with standby queues altogether and going to all virtual queuing for all attractions across the board in Disney Universal parks?
So that's a lot of capacity that's in the queues.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were to do that as a rollout, I think that I think that all companies need to be looking at ideas like that to see is that going to help? So I've used virtual queue at for Rise of the Resistance. I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity to do that.
Oh, yeah. I was going to had plans to go like the week after things got shut down. So, oh well.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that if it's a whole change in the system, and that towards the end, like you cut down on the line, and it's a whole next level of fast pass where instead of waiting 20 minutes, now you're spaced out and you're not encouraged to go through. At least as we come back and slowly ramp up, I think that could be a good solution. And I think it's going to be it's about capacity limiting, all that. So it's really here. We got some comments on it. So let's see what we got.
Yeah,
All virtual queue will be a huge jump. Going to be a logistical problem unless they find somewhere else to stack people. Yeah, that's what we were talking about, right? Well, that's the thing. Is it going to be the parks were completely abandoned after 9/11, and I know 9/11 sucks, but we're at a whole new level right now with this pandemic, a whole new level. So are people going to swarm back to the parks, or are they not? That was a whole huge shift. People were afraid to travel. They didn't want to travel. They were afraid of going in public. We kind of go on our life like that. And it feels like there's people that are, I mean, the parks were stacked up the moment until they closed 3 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, when they actually went through with it. They were packed. Yeah. The last day that Disney Springs was open, it was completely packed. People were there, just funneled in. Like, people weren't concerned about it. So has it gone in? I don't know.
I think that I'm optimistic, and I think just really thinking through it in terms of like sociological, statistical thinking, and just the overall timbre and emotion on social media that I looked at myself. I think people are going to flood back into the parks as soon as they can. And I think that there's going to be a whole like first kind of culture, like everybody's going to be there on the first day that they reopen, because these shutdowns, these closures are so unprecedented. I mean, Disneyland, Disney World being closed for months, and Shanghai being closed for probably 6 months.
That could be. Yeah, they're slowly ramping back up now, but it's very limited.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Chinese do and how they handle it, and how I think all eyes are going to be on Shanghai and Hong Kong for a while to see how they do it, how it works, how effective it is, how people behave, but I think in America, I think like the moment that, the word gets out that the parks are going to open, I think it's going to be just like an explosion of people flooding back out into public. But I think that it's going to be with masks and maybe gloves.
Well, what's interesting about, like you said, Shanghai, is that they're 3 months ahead of this whole thing that we are, really. And they have the government that does whatever they want, and can be very restricting. So they're going to be doing temperature checks to enter Disney or Shanghai Disneyland, because they do it everywhere. So they're already doing it. So you're going to get your temperature check. They're going to track where you've been, and they can do a lot of pre-screening to make sure that you haven't been in contact. Right now in China, there's an app they have that's tracking every single person and where they're going, so that been to a place where someone's been infected, they can take you out and put you in quarantine. Now, I'm politically speaking, that's just what they're doing, and it is effective. So
you can never do anything like that here.
No, there's nothing. There's no way. There's no way, right?
No, I mean, we're going to do some lame, half-assed, ham-fisted version of that, but it's not going to be an app. It's just going to be like the honor system, and I think that, I think people are going to wake up to the fact that these parks are private property and can be operated however the company sees fit. And if you don't want to go through the series of checks that the company is going to put in front of you, then you don't get to come in.
No, could be. We do have a comment here from Joshua. We won't see an uptick in attendance at parks until an all clear. For schools, offices, and communities are clear as well. 9/11 is a false equivalency, as the threat of terrorism was not declared cured. Sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, once the all clear is given and the parks give a date to open up, I mean, it's going to be like, deep impact traffic levels, getting into Florida.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other interesting thing, which is, Disney and Universal, they're building attractions because they want more people, they want more capacity, they want more people to come there. And if they know that all hell is broken loose and people want to go to these parks, maybe there might be a boon. There could be more people than ever that want to have that vacation. All I'm thinking about right now is wanting to get the hell out of my house and doing things. So there could be this huge boon over the next year, and Disney's just going to have to sit back and relax and enjoy the demand that's going to come in. That could happen. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's going to offset their losses, because them being closed for 3-4 months is huge. And I don't see them picking it up anywhere else in the company. So, it could be huge. What do you think about that? Do you think it could be a huge boon in attendance?
I think so. I think that you're for sure you're going to see all the annual pass holders showing up, because they've already paid into it, and all the locals are going to show up. I mean, I don't think that it's going to be like people. Sorry, I just read Joe's comment about Deep Impact. Yeah. I think that we won't see the kind of foreign travel from Brazil and Europe into Florida that we saw just a few months ago.
Right.
But the locals for sure, I think, are going to flood in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be great too. And I hope people come, and I hope they spend money. They got to get the per cap spending has got to just be through the roof to help these companies financially recover from this, which was good. It's going to take years. It's going to take years to build the cash reserves back up again.
Well, and that's why I'm curious. I don't know all the legislation. It's very confusing. Like, is Disney getting bailed out? How many companies out there are able to do that? I was kind of surprised to hear that they were furloughing their cast, because I thought they were going to be able to file for all these business loans and keep business as usual going. So that was actually caught me off guard a little bit. But that is where they are. So
I have a feeling that the company-wide furloughs were mainly just to not select only the parks employees, the parks and resorts employees, to make them feel singled out. I feel like it might have been a little bit of a PR move to just like, well, we can't just shut down parks and resorts and let WDI and studios and Pixar and all that kind of stuff just keep making money.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a solidarity thing. It's like, well, if parks and resorts is going to shut down, we're going to shut it all down.
Yeah. So I have some questions for you. So I'm out here in the Orlando scene, so I have all sorts of friends that are in the industry, and there's tons of companies there's lots of layoffs. There's lots of vendors that are just closed. There's furloughing going on. A lot of uneasiness, lots of people that are looking to go to freelance work and who are involved with Slice Creative Network, which is great. A great network out here in Orlando by Melody. And of course, we know the TEA. We all know what that's all about. What's like the pulse in the LA scene right now?
Everyone is very busy. Most of the people that I talk to in the independent design firms, for the most part, is business as usual and very busy.
That's good.
I think a lot of people are still looking at the future as being like bright-ish, and the expo is still going to happen, and I think stuff that's scheduled to open in the next year or two is still going to happen for some parks. I don't know about Disney and Universal projects, or I can't really talk about it.
Right.
But I think for independent regional projects, and especially international stuff, like in China, all of my Chinese projects are still going.
That's good.
And a lot of people that I talk to, their international projects are still going.
That's great.
So, a lot of people are busy. I mean, some people aren't as busy. Some people had, projects canceled or paused or put on hold or pushed or whatever. But the fact that everything didn't just stop,
right,
was surprising and relieving.
Yeah.
I think that it's an optimistic viewpoint that people are taking. Like, look, this isn't the end of the world. It's only temporary.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna suck. It's there is going to be a lot of economic damage. Not everybody is lucky enough to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is lucky enough to work for companies that continue to pay them if they're furloughed or laid off or whatever. I think I also am involved in Vegas Twitter as well, and I'm a discerning, frequent consumer of Las Vegas,
Mhm.
and a lot of friends and family that live there as well. I mean, my cousin works at Caesars, and he had to lay off his whole staff,
Hmm.
and but the way that they're doing it is, you know, they're not just like let go and that's the end of it. Everybody's still in the system.
Hmm.
And so like literally they can just like turn everybody back on and schedule them for work and they show up as if nothing ever happened.
Right. Right. Which I presume is going to be like Disney. They did stop the college program, which is a lot of people, but they can turn people back on. They're going to have to retrain. It's really fascinating, and it's very fascinating, this whole thing going on. So we have a question from some member of the audience. We've been going live for 35 minutes, which is pretty great. We have a great turnout. Dozens of people are watching, which is cool. So why don't we take this question, and then we can pick it up next week.
All right.
Let's see what this question was. Pardon me while I search for this. This is good. Okay, here we go. This is hi guys. What do you think is the best designed ride and why that you've done, or shouting out someone else's work? So I'll let you go first if you want to take that.
The best designed ride overall in the world. Does it have to be still in operation?
Let's go ahead. I'd say you could do both if you want to do.
Okay. Well, it's kind of a three-parter. The best design ride that I've done, the best design ride that other people I know have done, the best design ride that is still in existence in operation or not. I always go back to the original Disneyland Pirates of the Caribbean. That's my favorite ride.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a masterpiece of entertainment design and narrative, and just the colors and the lighting and the design and just the way the story unfolds and all that. That's I think still one of the best design rides in the world. Best design rides people that I know. I really enjoyed the Hagrid's motorbike ride.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people that worked on that. That was a phenomenal experience. I loved going into it not knowing about a lot of the elements. That was a big surprise and a lot of fun. I still haven't been on Rise of the Resistance. I understand that's probably one of the greatest rides ever.
Yeah.
I'm going to take everybody's word for it.
Yeah.
I've avoided as many spoilers as I can on that as well. It's been really hard. I've not watched the last episode of the Imagineering Story because of that.
Yeah. So
Joe Fox says Mystic Manor, Superstar Limo.
That's the joke. That's the jokes.
Superstar Limo is like the room of theme park rides.
Yeah. that's a very good. Yeah.
Did I answer all the questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
So yeah, I will. So I'll start off with Rise of the Resistance is just a complete another level of experiential design. And so we actually I do a daily show at 5:30 called Yappy Hour. That's on this channel. If you found me on Facebook or you found me on YouTube, that's where we have all sorts of these programs. And we put a top 10 list of domestic Disney parks, and we decided at the very beginning that Rise of the Resistance just had to be out because it was just not a fair fight. Like it's next level stuff. So I think that Rise of the Resistance is the best designed attraction. I've been to all Disney parks except Shanghai Disneyland. So that's kind of, I can't say Pirates in Shanghai because I haven't been on there. But funny story about that whole avoiding spoilers. I was the same way. I did not want to see spoilers. I was very in tune with knowing that last episode had spoilers. So they basically give away lots of surprises about the ride or the experience, really. And I was on a flight coming back from LA, and the person next to me was watching that episode, and I just, you know, kind of like sometimes you glance over what they're watching, and they showed it, and I'm like, oh, come on, I don't want to see that. You know, I unfollow like Theme Park Review, and I unfollow all these people like during like my moratorium area, because it was everywhere. It was on Twitter, it was on Facebook. Like I did not watch it, but oh my god, yeah. So I'm looking forward to your feelings about that. There's a few times in my life where I've been blown away as an adult. I was blown away by Forbidden Journey when I went on it for the first time. Just completely disoriented, blown away. I didn't know what was up and down. But my overall favorite, separate from Rise of the Resistance, is the Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland. Just top-notch overall experience theming that has a thrill level in it, and just over-the-top effects. I mean, every single time I ride that ride and I go to the boulder scene and the car wash stuff happens and it's just completely effective and the ball comes down, I laugh, I cry, I squeal like a little girl, and I love it. Like I love that feeling that you just get. And it's not a feeling like when you're going through a loop. You get a loop, you get that intense. It's a whole psychological thrill, like you're about to be crushed by a boulder, which is very effective. Probably the most effective theme park effects ever done for what they were trying to pull off.
Thinking, and it's funny to add to that. I was thinking about it while you were talking. I was listening to you too, of course. But I have to add two things, and one of them is related to that: the best theme park effect. For me, there's two times in my life, my adult life, that I fully suspended disbelief in a themed experience. Was the Star Trek experience at the Hilton in Las Vegas. The transporter room effect on that completely broke my mind. Like the rush of the air, the flash of the lights, and the way the room changed, and you know, the whole like guillotine thing that came in, replacing the whole room with the rush of wind and the lights. It was absolutely incredible. I'll never forget it. I'm so sad that people can't experience that still, because it is the most visceral experience you can have, I think, in a theme park attraction, along with the adventure trail at Shanghai. I don't know if you haven't been, but I would say rush over to the adventure trail. It's the ropes course over on Adventure Isle in Shanghai. That I think was the most fun I've ever had in a theme park attraction, because it's so unusual. You really get a real sense of peril that, you know, is only hinted at in other rides and other shows. But dangling over the edge of a 50-foot waterfall for real, so whether you're strapped into this thing or not, is a hell of a thing.
So I got disconnected. My computer was trying to restart on me. What was the waterfall thing that I heard? The Star Trek, and then I was
talking about the adventure trail at Shanghai.
Oh, haven't been on that. Okay,
the rope course. Yeah. That was the most fun I've ever had in a theme park attraction. It actually delivers genuine peril.
That's cool.
And what's really cool about it is you not only can you experience it, but then there's all, you know, the walkways all throughout the thing, and you can stand and watch your friends and family you know, completely melting down. I watched so many people just completely melt down and clog up the works. But the adventure trail, I mean, like dangling, like I said, you know, you feel genuine peril and danger, because it is. I mean, you know, it's real, and I loved it. I couldn't believe it. I would have loved to have gone on it more. I mean, I would easily have booked another day just to go around and around and around again on that, and take all of the routes.
So it's funny. So for my honeymoon, I was supposed to go to Shanghai Disneyland, and then go to Hong Kong Disneyland, and then go to Bali, then go to Tokyo. It all got canceled. Like I just got married, and it was all canceled because of this whole. Not my wedding happened, which we snuck it right in February 22nd. But we had in January they closed Shanghai Disneyland, so we had to cancel everything. And I was really hoping I was going to make it out there. Not sure when it's going to happen now. But yeah, I've heard Pirates out there. It's amazing. I don't want to hear spoilers. I've avoided all spoilers for that as much as I can. I know they kind of talk about it on the Disney Plus series, so I like skip that segment of it. But looking forward to that. We have some comments here. Let's see. We got Rich Hill. I rode Forbidden Journey with Terry Coop. Nice. Gave him a hug on the unload platform. Those Kuka arms were mind blowing. Yeah.
One of the comments up there was, what was my favorite theme park music or ride score? What was it?
Let's see. What was your favorite ride? Okay. Favorite ride soundtrack.
Favorite ride soundtrack. Oh, easy. American Journeys, the Circle Vision score by Basil Polidorus is my favorite score for an attraction. It's not a ride, technically, it's an attraction.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick my favorite score for a ride, actual, get in a vehicle, I think, original scores. I mean, so like not Potter, not Back to the Future. I would say, either Pirates or Mansion. Mystic Manor had really good music with Danny Elfman, dipping his toe into themed entertainment, taking jobs away from people like me.
Well, that is true. Yeah. Joe Fox, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I would say, just for iconic status, the Yoho Yoho Pirate's Life for me and Grim Grinning Ghosts are just utterly iconic. I mean,
yeah,
generations. Small World, iconic. I mean, it's not my favorite, but everyone knows it.
Everyone knows it. So Joe Fox, you said Body Wars was the ride template for ST, wasn't it?
Star Tours?
Star Tours or Star Trek? But probably Star Tours. But yeah, it's similar. It was the same ride system, but it wasn't synced as well, in my opinion. It was a little wobbly.
And Star Tours came first, didn't it?
I believe Star Tours came first. Yep. Because that was in 86 or 7, and then it came to Disney Studios in 89, 91, somewhere around that period, and it opened to Body War. Well, yeah, the Wonders of Life Pavilion was much after that. Yeah, I went on Body Wars before they shut it down, and then they just salvaged it all for parts and put it in there. Yeah, I know Star Tours were developed first. Cool. Well, so where do you see the show going? We just come here every week and talk about theme parks? Because I'm down to do that. No problem.
I can do that all day, every day.
Yeah, and I think that the point of this show is to try to create a venue for people to chime in, tune in, and try to just like speaking to colleagues a little bit. People that want to nerd out on theme parks, I'm down for that. People that want to just kind of confide in each other and know that we're all here supporting each other, it's good. I know that it's good to hear that the team out there in Orlando, your group out there, in Los Angeles, seem to be doing pretty okay. We know that the seismic shifts that have happened at Disney over the furloughs are huge. And so, we're all here to support each other in the industry, and we hope that this show is going to do good. Share it with your friends, family members, all that kind of good stuff. And, it's so funny because now when people are like, hey, are you free to go talk at this night? I'm like, yeah, I got nothing. There's nothing to do.
Well, when do you want to do it? I'm like, well, I don't know. Days don't have meaning anymore.
Yeah. And so, one thing that I would really love to do, and I know we are going to be able to do, is bring people on this show that are social media, very big on social, or not big on social media. They just like to, they're out there in the industry, and they're willing to engage with fans and other industry folks. So I'd love to have a guest on every show. So if you want to be on the show, I know there's people commenting on right now that I'm sure would come on the show in a heartbeat that have been working in the industry for years and are creative forces that have built attractions that you've been on. We've all been on. Everyone here has been on attractions that you've probably done the music for. They've experienced things that you've done that sometimes we can't talk about it. You're kind of in the back, behind the scenes on things quite a lot, but it'd be fun to hear about all your experiences and then bring other people on to just chat. We got to figure out the name for the show. What is it going to be? I don't know, but right now it's the Untitled Themed Entertainment Lockdown Show project, and I think we can go from there.
It'd be funny. It's if it goes on after the lockdown, we just take lockdown out, and it's just the Untitled Themed Entertainment Show project.
Yeah. And if any of you folks, have comments, want to join the show, let us know. We're here to talk industry, folks. A lot of people join later in the show because they maybe hopped on, but I'm a art director for theme parks for Nickelodeon Experience Design. And Andy, what do you do in 15 seconds?
I do music and sound for theme parks.
There you go. Thank you for joining us. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think maybe next time we could talk a little bit about Vegas. I'd love to talk about how we think that's all gonna roll back on.
I love Vegas.
I'm so sad for Vegas. Vegas. No one's talking about Vegas, but
Yeah.
it's really bad out there.
Yeah. Are you a gambler, or what do you do when you go to Vegas?
I eat, drink, and gamble, and I do it at a professional level.
Okay. What's your game of choice? Just to give people a little bit more about our gambler stock.
I play slots, I play blackjack, and I play poker. A little bit of video poker when I'm sitting at the bar. But I mean, I have a host and the whole thing. So
okay. That's the whole thing.
And it's funny, I talk to her weekly.
Okay, that's cool.
I call her my casino grandma.
That's great. So are you? So I'm a Caesars person. Are you like? Because I know you checked into Mandalay Bay, and you had like, I think you were at Mandalay Bay, and you had like containers full of equipment for like a weekend or like a week-long trip. Maybe it was over New Year's Eve, I think.
That was at Cosmopolitan. That's where I stayed.
Oh, okay, Cosmopolitan. So are you an MGM? Whatever. I forget if that's.
No, Cosmo's independent.
Oh, okay.
Cosmo's owned by Blackstone.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
And Blackstone just bought Bellagio. So the two properties are right next to each other. I think there's going to be there was going to be sort of a merging of casino programs and all that kind of stuff.
Now we'll see. Okay, cool.
But, yeah, I'm been loyal to the Cosmos since they opened in 2010.
Nice. Well, we'll talk about that. I'm a Caesars guy. I play blackjack. I don't have a host. One day, I mean, I'll have to go and hang out with you, and we can host together. We don't have to get specific into our limits or anything, because we don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. But I'm presuming if you have a host, it's pretty high up there.
It's not so much that as I just go a lot.
Oh, okay, just go again. Here you go. Can we get a future show filmed on a patio at the Cosmo? Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, actually, we can make that happen.
That'd be great. All right, folks, we'll sign off for today. This has been your Untitled Themed Entertainment Industry Lockdown program project. Thanks for joining us. We will salute you.
Thanks, guys.
The broadcast. Bye for now, folks.